Nancy is an artist from Columbiana. For those of you who you know, you were at, Nancy, you were at Key's house over in Chester, over in Newell.
Yes.
So you know Key. You don't know Marcus, and I don't think you know
Marcus.
Jackie. So hopefully she'll join back in when she can. Nancy has a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Kent State. She is a member of the Ohio Plein Air Society. Also the founder of the Eastern Ohio Plein Air Club that is going to be out painting today in Columbiana. A fantastic artist. When I first saw her work, when I started working at the Butler Art Museum, I saw her work there and I'm like, wow. I love the impressionist quality. I love she often uses very thick paints in her work, builds up layers, and they're just fantastic. I think she does wonderful work. And so I'm glad to have her as a friend. I'm glad we've gotten to know each other, and I'm glad she's here today. So thank you, Nancy.
Oh, thank you, Sheri.
Okay, there we've got Jackie back now, and she's missed my whole spiel. And hopefully Tim Williams will join us today also. I'm going to go ahead and share screen here. Okay. I love this painting. Can you see this one?
It's Blue Hen Falls in the Cuyahoga Valley National.
This one was part of the 2016 Ohio Plein Air Society.
No, that was,
or 2017.
That was in Peninsula. Yeah, they have a plein air.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about doing this painting and the event you were involved in?
Yeah, it was in Peninsula, Ohio, which is a little bit south of Akron. Right? Yeah, between Akron and Cleveland, maybe. Yeah, that's what it is. And yeah, Kathy Farthing was down in the ravine there when I went there painting, and there are no steps there, but there are kids walking all around the cliffs on it, and some young parents too. And I wanted down right where I could look up at it. I didn't want to look down onto it. And Becky didn't particularly want me to, but I walked down. There were roots and stones that I sort of held on to get down. And I took my cart down and set up my easel down there, and that got first place.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah, I don't think when we think of going out and painting at these places, we remember that we have to haul all our equipment down to these places, and that that can be physically exhausting. I know Mom and I had that experience from being in the Ohio Plein Air Society competition for a couple years. So that's a beautiful painting, Nancy.
Thank you, Sheri.
This one's a recent one of your peonies.
Yeah, I went out. Yeah, they're in our backyard, and I was waiting for them to come into bloom so I could paint them. And I wasn't real happy with it at first, but it's sold already.
Oh my goodness! Well, congratulations.
But I do like it. You know, it was only the bottom right-hand corner that I didn't like, and I worked a little more on it that evening. Yeah.
You really aim to finish your paintings all in one day and all on location. Is that correct?
Right, because things change, and it's hard to go back, and like the flowers would have been more wilted probably, or things, that sort of thing, or maybe the day is completely different, the light is different. But sometimes you do want to go back. Well, I have one story, the Macklin Road sunflowers. I was painting a few years ago, one of my larger paintings, and I went back. I drove down this lane, just partway down this lane, and parked, and I got a nice start with it. I went back the next day, and it had rained overnight, and I drove down, and my wheels sunk in. They dug a ditch and filled it in, and the rain had softened that dirt, and my wheels sunk to the axles. And I said a little prayer, and I thought, what am I going to do now? Well, just after I said this little prayer, a flatbed tow truck drove by, and the sunflowers were on both sides, and so he would have had to look that way to see me, and he did. And he stopped and backed up, and he said, "Do you have AAA?" And I said, "Yes." And he says, "Oh, well, this is a different township." So he backed in, and he pulled me out, no charge.
Wow.
It was just a miracle. And I went ahead and finished it, and it's one of my better works too.
Oh, wow. You have, there's an article I'm going to post a link to, but you've talked about your faith and the light in your paintings and the connection between those things. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh.
A tough subject, I know.
Yeah. Well, the light, the scriptures talk about the light being Christ. And so that's the inward light. And when we paint, we look at the way the light shines on things to give us an idea about the brightness and the values. And it makes the painting look more realistic if we consider those things. And so the light within us, when we look at it, it shines on what we need to see. And that's a simple version. I don't remember exactly.
No, I know that was a big question, but no, I love your interpretation of what the beauty, that we see right around us here in our area. Could you talk a little bit about, it's always interesting to me when I watch you actually do a painting, and this format isn't really good for the demonstration, I think, that you talked about doing, but you always start, your paintings just look, just dark spots, light spots, and really messy at first, and in the end you come out with something really beautiful. Can you talk about your technique and how you begin a painting and how you progress?
I actually like them best when I start them. Sometimes when I finish them, I don't like them as much. But yeah, you need to paint all over the canvas. And so I usually start with a background color. So the white won't won't poke out of the painting and distract you. But then I start with the darks when I do oils, because you want them thinner, and they tend to get muddy if you put lights in first. It'll pick up the white. And so I start with the darks, and I look at color spots in the area that I'm painting, areas of color shapes, trying not to think about objects, but the shape of color. And organic is one description of good shapes. You want things to look interesting, and so you try to do the organic shapes that you see. And just straight lines are not that interesting as far as realism goes. So, and then I put in the next value, and also the bright colors. I try to wipe out or leave open, because they will pick up other things too, and it'll spoil the brilliance of the colors.
I posted this, I put this picture up from Sprucevale. I thought this was a really beautiful one. I loved your treatment of the water in this picture.
I like that one too. Sprucevale, nice. Yeah, I often go there. There was one time I took my dog with me, and there was a Boy Scout camp, and the leaders were real friendly, and I had to walk past them down to this area that was kind of sandy and wet from the water, and stony. And so I tied my dog to my chair, and he was pretty good until, he's a husky, till there were some geese, wild geese, that flew down the stream, and he jumped up and ran after him, and he was tied to my chair, and it was at the back, and I couldn't reach him. And I was so nervous that he was going to pull me over in the chair, but I did finally grab it, and the Boy Scout master could hear me, and he came down to see if I was okay. No, Lupin, no. Yeah.
Nancy, we have some more experienced artists and some less experienced artists in our class. Do you have any advice for people that are maybe starting out as to how to approach painting and how to get better?
Well, it's just to paint, to just do it a lot. And I try to paint, at least once a week I do a painting, and so I have this stacks and stacks of paintings. But because if you do even one a week, you have 56 a year.
Wow.
But even not that, you need to be drawing and painting all the time to get practice, and to be able to manipulate it the way you like, the way you want, and to look at other artists' work that you admire. It's good too.
We've talked about with Chris Leeper and Robin Roberts, who have been here, what their plans are upcoming this year, and it's a very different year this year than other years. Are you planning, or any of the competitions that you had planned still on the schedule? What are you looking at?
I'm sort of waiting. I haven't heard if the Peninsula Plein Air is opened up again yet or not, and I think not. The mid-year was canceled even, Butler, and not sure how the Hoyts. Well, they have some of them put their work online, like the women's show this year, which I haven't really seen. Maybe it's not opened yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
I don't know if Lakeside is even open, although Michelle took some work to the gallery there Sunday, so they must expect.
I believe they are, because I get their emails, and they're gearing up. So that one may be a go. I'm not sure. One other thing I wanted to talk about was the Eastern Ohio Plein Air Club that you started. That's open to everybody, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is it okay if I? Oh, go ahead.
I started it so I wouldn't have to paint by myself, and usually at least one person comes and shows up. But there's a lot of support from different ladies. In the wintertime, when we really can't paint out, they offer their houses for us to do still lifes in it.
Yes, that's been great. I know I have not made it up to Sue's house or I'm sure, but I have made it to Sherry Fry's house, and that's been so much fun to get together.
Yeah.
I think you improve when you can see the work of other artists. It's not that it's a competition or anything, but it's inspiration, you know.
Yeah, there are really beautiful paintings that came out of our group.
Absolutely.
Your work has really come alive. I am enjoying it a lot, even from your photograph paintings.
Well, I think it, like you said, it is just practice. I think a lot of people believe that you're either born an artist or you're not somehow, and I believe that a lot of it can be learned. If you have an interest, you can learn a lot of this, and a lot of it is just simply practice. The best artists paint all the time. They love it, they practice it. So I believe a lot of it can be learned and skills acquired over time. It's not just something you're born with.
Mm-hmm.
But I love your work, Nancy. I'm going to go ahead and share an article. Oh, this is your, Nancy has a blog that she writes, Artist Impressions from Life. If you guys want to tune into that.
Mm-hmm.
Stop share here. I'm going to put this in the chat box. And if anyone is interested in the Ohio or the Eastern Ohio Plein Air Club, I can give you the info on that. You're welcome to join us anytime. And I'm going to go to, let's see.
Yeah, email me for that, and
Yeah.
I'll put you on my list.
Let's see,
I have 99, but not all of them come.
And this is a really nice little article that was written about Nancy and her work that you might enjoy. Okay, I know you have to get painting today, Nancy, so thank you so much for your input and your inspiration today.
Yes, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're always welcome to paint with us, but I know you like to get outside, so. And I'll join you when I have another car.
Good, good. That's a promise.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nancy.